Heyo, and welcome back to Wonderlands Gamers. Today, well, actually, all week I've been farming one of, if not the rarest legendary weapon in Wonderlands 1,000 times with maximum loot luck. To see just how rare it actually is, and at the same time, test how busted all of the other drops are at Chaos 35, including world drops, dedicated, and the spicy, chaotic, volatile, and primordial drop rates. To start, all 1,000 farms were on 64,000 loot luck, which you can go slightly higher if you have a higher rarity necklace, but for comparison to previous and future videos, I keep mine the same for all of them. If you're wondering how the heck I got to 64,000 loot luck, the breakdown is on screen, but also there's a separate video on the channel linked below, or I'll link it at the end if you need it. Now, the boss I've been grinding away at for the past week or so is Lechance, aka Lechad, which you'll be glad to hear is one of the easiest fights in the entire game. Thankfully, the rarest, or if not one of the rarest drops, didn't go to an immunity-riddled boss like the Dragon Lord, for instance. The legendary Torgue shotgun named the Swordsplosion is one of Lechance's dedicated drops, and as of a couple of weeks ago, it got buffed like crazy, and on top of that, they also added the chance for it to roll with 3 pellets, rather than just 1 pellet like it did from the start of the game. With multiple buffs factored in, it received over a 380% buff, making it one of the strongest legendary guns in the entire game right now, with pretty much any build. But like I said, it's definitely not the easiest to get. Let me break down why. After 1,000 farms at Chaos 35, 64,000 loot luck, I got 613 legendary items. 191 of those were dedicated drops, making it a pretty solid 19.1% dedicated drop rate. The problem is that very solid rate is cut in 3 with his dedicated loot pool having 3 items, including the peg leg melee weapon, which increases your movement and reload speed with each melee attack, letting you just zoom around extremely quickly, particularly if you already had a movement speed build. The second one is a cannonballer rocket launcher, one of the very few RPGs in the game, surprisingly shoots cannonballs. It's a Torgue, so it has 2 different firing modes, the primary being an impact single pellet or cannonball, and the alternate firing mode shoots between 2 and 4 balls completely randomly. Can't say I've used it too much at Chaos 35, but hey, if they buff it, I now have some really good ones stored away in the bank. And of course, the third one being our ultra rare Swordsplosion, a Torgue shotgun that has 2 firing modes as well, primarily shooting a sword that explodes on impact, and since the buff, it got a projectile speed and fire rate buff, making it a lot easier to use. And the secondary firing mode is Stickies, which is the one you definitely want to use because stuck swords increase damage by 30%, which stacks really fast, leading to some pretty insane boss melts. The drops I actually saw in-game were 59 peg legs, 61 cannonballers, 71 Swordsplosions. Now, all of those weapons can come in all elemental types, including non-elemental, and the split for that is generally 50% non-elementals drop, and then the other 50% is somewhat split across the other 5 elemental types. Swordsplosion's unfortunately a little off on that trend in the wrong direction because I got 42 non-elementals and 29 elementals, which I low-key got rolled on that department, but alas. Now, what makes this legendary so incredibly rare, it at least rivals the perfect sham, if not is harder to get, I believe, is multiple different factors you have to roll at the same time. For example, my Swordsplosion I was trying to farm all week, plus a few extra days before I even started writing down the stats, is a ×3 cryo primordial, or I'd happily take a volatile. Primordial, of course, is a lot better, but I'm, trying to leave some hope for me to actually potentially get the item I want. So, like I said, the dedicated drop rate is 19.1%, split across the 3 dedicated drops that are in Lechance's loot pool, bringing us immediately down to a 6.36 dedicated drop chance, which is kind of already pretty low considering I do have maximum loot luck. If you don't have that, it's going to be way lower than this. Then I wanted a ×3. Mind you, ×1s are actually very good, but the ×3s are just better, but they do come at a very big price. Out of the 71 Swordsplosions I got, 62 of them were single pellet, and just 9 of them were ×3 variants, which is less than a 1 in 7 chance, or just shy of 15% shot. That cuts our 6.36% chance down to just a 0.955%. But then we have elements, instantly half that chance because 50% of the time it drops as non-elemental. Then you have a 20% chance to get it to roll the element you actually want, aka the cryo one that I was going for, putting us at a 0.0955% chance. But don't worry, we're definitely not done yet. That would be way too easy for us gamers. We have chaotics, volatiles, and primordials in this game. Each have their own set dedicated drop rate in huge quotation marks because it's not very accurate. In the total 613 legendaries that we got, 12 of them were primordials, which was a bit more than expected, but not too wild. We did, however, get 128 volatiles and 129 chaotics, so pretty much the same for both of those two. That definitely should have different drop rates, and they're supposed to have different set drop rates. which by the way is in line with all the farming videos I've done since Chaos 35. Volatiles just seem to drop at about the same amount as Chaotix for some reason. But weird Borderlands bugs aside, let's stick with the set drop rates, assuming they, adjust that or whatever. Maybe I'm just getting super lucky. To get a ×3 cryo chaotic Swordsplosion, you're looking at a 0.022213% chance, which if you were like me and was like, what the heck does that even mean? It means you're looking at a 1 in 4,500 farms you can expect one. Of course, it's RNG, so you could get 5 in that time, but that's kind of what you can expect. For a volatile, it's 0.016655, aka a 1 in 6,000 shot. And the rarest variant, at least currently in the game, is Primordial. To get a ×3 cryo Primordial Swordsplosion, you have a 0.001107% chance, which works out to be about 1 in 90,269 farms. So yeah, if your mate has the gun, he either save edited that thing or he just needs to go enter a bunch of raffles ASAP because his luck is insane. Based off those insane chances, I did actually get considerably lucky a few times. I managed to pull 4 volatile ×3s, which is pretty wild considering the very few amount of ×3s that I actually got. 2 of those were fire, which is a little pain because 1, I didn't need a duplicate, and 2, I don't really use fire. 1 of them was corrosive, and 1 of them was dark magic, aka none of them were the cryo I was looking for, unfortunately, and definitely no primordials. I didn't actually even get 1 single pallet primordial at all, which was kind of sage. That just shows how actual rare those things are. But the gameplay you've been watching the entire time in the background is a volatile ×1 cryo, and it shreds. So I'm definitely fine with this until they, spread the dedicated loot pools to some enemies that currently don't respawn in the game for no apparent reason. If they just made them respawn, spread it across the loot pools, it would be a lot nicer trying to get dedicates in this game, that's for sure. Also, for those interested, we got 422 world drops out of our 613 legendaries, and the distribution of those seems to be pretty accurate, on par with all the other testing we've done pretty much since the start of the game. We got a ton of class mods and spells, 95 class mods, 86 spells. In the middle range, we got 75 melee weapons, just 50 guns, and 44 wards. 44 really low, like less than half the class mods. And I don't know why every single time necklaces and rings are just at the bottom. 37 rings, 25 necklaces, which is like just over 25% of the amount that we got in class mods, which they're 2 of the hardest items to try and get because there's so many different roles you can try and get in the game. And they are, I don't know if it's intentional or a bug, but they're the least well-dropped item, unfortunately. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. It is much appreciated. We also have a Twitch and a Discord community. I'll link them both down below if you guys are interested. Other than that, best of luck with your RNG gamers. Fingers crossed it is on your side. Until next time, adios.